Welcome to episode 11 of Career Pro Tips by Life in the Green Room. Life in the Green Room is all about helping busy professionals move their career in the direction that they want to go. We know that you want more from your career, and we provide action-oriented, tool-based plans to help you get there. And Career Pro Tips is our weekly video series where we dive into something specific that you can take action on right away. My name is Heather Green McLinn, and I'm the Vice President of Marketing at a Fortune 500 company. I've used these tools over the course of my career, and I continue to use them today. I've seen my team use them, I've seen my peers use them, and I know with some intentional planning and action, you can move the career in the direction that you want to. Today in episode 11, we are going to dive into strengths versus weaknesses and what you should work on. So, you may go over a process with your boss through a performance review, or maybe this is something you're doing all on your own to set up what are your professional development goals. And as you evaluate them, one of the common ways to get yourself started is to look at your strengths and weaknesses and go tackle your weaknesses, take care of them. And what I want to cover today is a way for you to think through, is that the best way for you to think about this? Is that the best thing you can do when you're taking action? Everyone has weaknesses. The most impactful and best leader in the world or in business or whoever you value has something that they can work on. I think it's critical that you know what your weaknesses are. My challenge for you today is that what you should work on with your time as a development opportunity? And I'm going to go through why I want you to think through that argument for yourself. The answer is going to be different for everyone, so I just want to lay out the thought process for you to be able to make a call. So let's talk about weaknesses first. That's kind of the go-to. Everybody wants to go through those, make sure they know their weaknesses so they can start working on them so they can get better. The challenge I have with that is, where does that leave you at the end? You've worked on all of your weaknesses, but you haven't focused on your strengths, so these probably have come down. Your weaknesses have come up. Maybe you end up with everything kind of in the middle. That might make you kind of a bland candidate. Yes, you've got a lot of breadth, but you're not especially good or especially bad at anything. And so that's the debate, the power behind understanding this. I want to start with weaknesses though, because I want you to know what they are. Even if you're choosing not to work on them, I want you to know what skills you might have down here, because you need to be aware of your blind spots. Ignoring your weaknesses is a terrible idea. It's a way to catch you off guard. Somebody's going to potentially take advantage of you, or you are going to miss opportunities because you don't know how to check on your blind spots or your weaknesses. So knowing them is critical. Whether or not you put a full-blown plan together to improve them is totally up to you. So if you have two weaknesses, two is very simple. There's probably lots for everybody, but let's start there. Evaluate those and try to understand the depth of the weakness and whether or not it makes sense. So for myself, if I'm looking at two different things I could potentially work on, one of them is to understand more financial statements and how the levers within the financial world impact your business results, or you need to really become an expert at the IoT space and know the industry trends and what's going to happen on those. Those are both pretty big topics, and tackling both of them is really going to be tough. So I might look at those and say, for me personally, I'm very interested in understanding the finance side, and I can go after that, and no matter what role I'm in, I can leverage it. And so I want to spend a lot of time working on that. And on the technology side, maybe I decide it's great that I know it's a weakness and a blind spot, but I'm not going to tackle it. I'm going to handle that blind spot by saying, when I have to have topics around that, discussions around that, I'm going to bring in an expert, or I'm going to consult somebody who I know is really deep, or I'm going to have somebody on my team who can be the expert in there. There's ways for you to accommodate that, but you do need to understand that it's a weakness. So I would encourage you, when you're looking at your weaknesses, to kind of evaluate them with that type of logic, to say, okay, where are they? How could I address them? And know some of them are maybe something that is really important to you, and it might take years to work on, and that's okay. Just start a little bit at a time. And over 5 years, you can have a just vast difference in your ability to handle something like finance, like I mentioned. So assessing the different weaknesses is the first place I wanted to start in this discussion. The second piece is the strengths. And this is the piece I think is unfortunately overlooked so many times when people are working on their own professional development plans, or even when they're in reviews with their boss or their peers. It's rare that I've seen people say, hey, this is the strength I'm going to focus on and this is how I'm going to enhance it. And I think it's a missed opportunity. So I would challenge you to really look at those, because sometimes it's better to become just off the charts in one area and maybe bring your weaknesses up a little, or have a way you're going to handle your blind spots. And that can make you really uniquely qualified and really a powerhouse in one area. And that's how you're going to stand out in your career. Tom Rath's book, Strength Finders, dives into that really deeply. It's all about saying go all in on what makes you you, and just be the best person at that, and the best in the industry, or the best expert out there. And that's kind of the purpose of the topic here today, is I want you to know what your strengths are and know what strengths you have that you really like. And then I want you to know your weaknesses and look across there and say, okay, based on what I'm going for, am I going to be better served in my professional development plan to go after these strengths and just take them up even higher? Or do I have a weakness that's really important to me and I want to start tackling it a little bit at a time and bring that back up to average or above average over time? Any of those can be the right answer, but you need to be intentional about selecting which one. Both take a lot of effort. And so you want to pick the one that's going to pay you off the best, and it's going to feel the best and be the most natural for you and your goals for your career. So when you're looking at your strengths and weaknesses, I do really want you to understand both of them and make a conscious decision of which one you want to focus on to improve. This decision will likely change over the course of your career. I don't want you to think that you choose it once and you're done. So early on in your career, maybe your goal is to kind of get to parity on a lot of things. And then later in your career, you're saying, okay, I'm here and I'm going to take this one and just skyrocket it. And that may be completely appropriate. So assess where you are and make the choices of what professional development plans you want to work on for your strengths and weaknesses to make the best out of your career. Let me know what you think about how you work on strengths and weaknesses and what tips you have. If you like getting weekly career pro tips, subscribe below. Until next week, here's to owning your career journey.